Sweet. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and share my presentation. Awesome. Let's see. Or are you
Revel.
gonna? Oh, Ravel. Very cool. Okay. Awesome. Is everyone seeing my presentation screen? Good. Perfect. Okay, very cool. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Ali Shamli, and I am gonna be presenting the Transfer Success series. So this is all about kind of the academic pieces, making sure you have tools and knowledge to thrive here academically and beyond. But today we're going to be talking about transferable triumph. So leveraging some of your prior learning, some of your previous skills that you've already been accumulating at your previous institutions, and how to make the most of those at UCSD. So to begin, my name is Ali Shanley. I am a transfer retention specialist here at the Transfer Hub, and I really focus on making sure that you all feel ready to adjust to the quarter system. I really focus on academic strategy and study practices, so making sure that you're connected to the right resources, that you have plans and things in place to make you feel prepared for midterms and finals and things like that. I also work with students who are experiencing academic difficulty. Sometimes that transfer shock or adjusting to the quarter system can hit pretty hard, but I'm definitely here to walk through all those things, and can also assist with like organization and time management and just general and academic well-being as well. I think your success here at UCSD is very holistic, and so I really want to be here every step of the way to support you through that. So thank you for being here. So I wanted to start off with some goals, hopes, dreams, expectations for what I'd love to see happen today in our webinar slash workshop. I think I really want you all to like have a better understanding of the quarter system, and understand that like transition process a little bit better once you leave here. I hope that this helps you become a little bit more familiar with UCSD resources and practices and things like that. And then also learning a little bit from the current transfer experience. So in preparation for this workshop, I pulled from our student coaches' knowledge. I sat in on different orientations and heard from other transfer students across campus about what were things that really benefited them. And so I think it goes a long way to hear what other people have done and make sure that you're not alone on the journey. I would love, if possible, cameras on. I know that sometimes circumstances make it difficult, but I think if you're able and willing, love to see a camera on and engage in that way if possible. And also, like, this is completely a space to share, ask questions, and engage. Feel free to use the chat. I think coming to a new university and navigating that adjustment can be a little bit nerve-wracking, and especially when it comes to that academic piece. UCSD is a very rigorous institution, and I think all transfers come in. You're all very high achieving, and so I want to make sure that this is a space where you feel like you can ask questions, and if you're feeling nervous about that transfer shock or quarter system adjustment, this is definitely the place to hash that out, and so definitely feel free to engage, unmute, anything like that. But yeah, awesome. Oh, skip to the very end. I'd love to do that. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to kick things off by talking about quarter system adjustment. I do have a webinar tomorrow where I'll be getting kind of into that nitty-gritty of like really what that looks like. And yeah, and I'll be kind of like giving a more extensive breakdown tomorrow in the transfer talk. But essentially, the biggest difference between a quarter system and semester system is that timing piece. So in the semester system, there's 15 extra weeks. And in the quarter system, we have 10 weeks. And so it's split into 10-week periods 3 times per year. With that being said, the pacing is a lot faster. You might have heard that in your orientations or in other interactions. There's maybe some fear or like mystery around the quarter system. And so I think it's just really helpful to like have a knowledge of what that looks like. and not really to be afraid of it or nervous, but more so I think just being able to like feel prepared. Things will move a little bit quicker and it just takes a little bit of adjusting. And so we are here as a resource to make sure you feel ready for that. And I think once you kind of like get into the groove, it's a lot easier. People end up really enjoying it. And so I think, yeah, one of the biggest difference is that timing piece. And so that means the pacing happens faster, midterms happen earlier in the year. Same with finals, they come up a lot quicker. And so we're going to do a little activity at the end, kind of maybe breaking down like how you might normally study or like set up for finals and see if we can adjust that to the quarter system. But feel free if you have any questions about the quarter system or that adjustment piece, feel free to put it in the chat and I can definitely get back to it. But yeah, on the note of quarter system adjustment, something that kind of goes hand in hand with that is transfer shock. And so you might have heard about transfer shock in some way, maybe not. But transfer shock is actually a coined term. So this term has been around since I believe the 60s. It's kind of been an ongoing phenomena. And so it's the likelihood for transfer students to face a temporary dip in GPA during their first or second quarter at a new school. And while that seems scary, I think it's helpful to know about and know that you're kind of not alone in experiencing that. There's been multitudes of people who have experienced it for decades and decades. And so it really is nothing like inherently or like wrong with you, or like I think sometimes it causes like some of that imposter syndrome piece of like, did I make the right choice of what school I went to? But I think it is a widely experienced experience of having that academic transition occur. And a lot of that is that it's just you're adjusting to a new environment, whether that be pacing or acclimating to a new city. There's a lot of things that kind of come into play when thinking about transfer shock. So it is a coined term, and it is something that all transfers experience in some degree, but it's not something I would say like you should worry about. More so like finding ways to like get ahead. I think even just you all being here is an awesome opportunity to kind of maybe prevent some of the impacts that transfer shock might have. But at the end of the day, we're here as a resource here at the Transfer Hub. Also myself personally, I was a transfer and went through transfer shock, and I was like very academically rigorous when I was at my community college, and I went from semesters to quarters, and it was like a crazy switch up. I remember during my orientation, there was a bunch of transfers who were talking about it going by quickly, and I didn't believe them until I was in it, but it can go by fast. But definitely, I'm glad that you're here because we're gonna find some ways to counteract that quick pacing. So yeah, awesome. Let's see. All right. So we have some verbiage with college. There is a lot that goes on, and I think there's a lot of different metrics that define academic success. And so I think throughout my time in higher ed, both like being a student and working in higher ed for the last like 7 or so years, I found that it's really valuable to actually shift some of that framework around what does academic success mean and what are you really like kind of getting from your education. It's a huge investment of your time and energy. And so I think it can be really helpful to like shift a little bit of that mindset to like, yeah, think about education in a slightly different way. And I think something incredibly valuable about transfer students is that you're coming from different types of schools. We have a lot of transfers who have worked full-time careers and have come back to the university to start a different like educational path. And I think there's a lot of value that transfers bring to UCSD, but also just a lot of knowledge and kind of like a more definitive idea of like what education means to you and that value of education. And so so I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to redefine and rethink what it means to be a student and kind of what it means to get a degree. But I would love to hear from you all. Feel free to put it in the chat or call it out. Why do you think that people go to college or get a degree? People shout it out. No wrong answers.
Because I hope it's going to be hugely beneficial in the job market and connections there is unmatched as far as how saturated the university system is, I think.
Love it. Yeah. So yeah, definitely like some of that like professional development. I think that is a huge reason why people go to college. It's to get that professional development, to find a job or a career, um, to make more money. Absolutely. I think that is a huge incentive, 100%. And so I think when it comes to education, it's important to like really think about that in terms of like what what job am I setting myself up for? Super important. Yeah, learning new skills, experiencing new ideas, pathways, love it, love it. If a job requires that education step, definitely, yeah, there's a lot of jobs that like require that degree. And so that's a huge piece of it. Love it. I think all of you are like definitely hitting what I'm hoping to highlight. So with that, I think academic triumph, well, actually, let me go back. So as it's kind of reframed here, I think this refers to achieving success in educational pursuits through a mastery of skills, through acquiring knowledge and a variety of different like effective strategies. And that looks, yeah, looks like a lot of different things, but I think ultimately highlight some of these. And so I think a lot of school and college and I think like preparation to transfer can be very focused on like specifically that GPA or getting high grades. That academic rigor is really important. I think with that comes a lot of pressure, but I think more importantly, and especially based on like all the amazing things that you've shared in the chat and out loud about the job perspective, preparation, learning new skills, I think this is an awesome opportunity to like reflect on how we can set up our study strategies, our adjustment to UC San Diego, to reflect that career building and that professional development. And so I think some things that looks like are attendance and engagement. So going to classes, being involved, raising your hand, even though it feels really scary, you're new. I think that engagement goes a long way and kind of sets up for that professional success in a lot of different ways. I think it also looks like improved comprehension. So going and getting involved and making sure that yeah, class is a priority or you're getting involved in clubs. I think that improves your comprehension of like what's going on in classes, improves your knowledge about what resources are available on campus, and overall is just a really good thing to have. Then there's also like retention of material. So I think like showing up and building those skills allows you to retain the knowledge and the things that you're the things that you're picking up in a much more significant way. And so I think for me, when I went to college, there like I feel like my brain was like a slowly like dripping faucet, and like the knowledge slowly leaves over time. But I it took me a long time to build those skills to like actually retain that material. And I remember like the classes I was really invested in and like showed up to all the time. I remember those like years and years later because I made efforts to build those skills early on. And so can definitely be a good thing. Also just building habits for academic, personal, and professional success. So I think academic triumph looks like, yeah, setting up study sessions with people, maybe building out like a study plan or calendaring for the quarter to make sure you feel prepared and ready for when midterms are coming and things like that. And yeah, I think academic triumph also looks like preparing for your future career. So making sure you're using the career center on campus or like being timely to class because that might help you build those habits for when you're a professional. And then I think overall academic triumph looks like looks like engaging in that mental struggle. I think one of the most valuable things college has to offer people is the opportunity to really like mentally like rack your brains trying to finish homework or an assignment. And I think some people might be like, what? College is supposed to be hard. But I think it is an incredible opportunity in your life to have that really um prominent mental engagement. There's not a lot of like you might have a very like mentally uh expansive and like consuming job in the future, but I think not much compares to your college education and having those class opportunities and having the opportunity to do really hard midterms and finals. I think it is a cool thing to be able to use the amazing brain that you have. And so yeah, I think college is hard, and I am actually glad that it's the case because you're really investing in it. It I hope it is. I hope that you're learning and it's not easy peasy because there's a lot of value in stretching our brains and things like that. So yes, that is a little overview of how I define academic triumph. And so that kind of leads into the point of transferring and what that looks like for you all as transfer students, because you are coming in with an entire skill set and a lot of previous knowledge about your previous institution, how you've already kind of set up study strategies, like the different classes you've already taken. And so I think much different from first year freshmen. I think you have a solid concept of college and what that looks like and how you need to sign up for classes and major requirements and things like that. And so I really like to have opportunities to pull from your knowledge because you have really expansive knowledge. You worked hard to get here, and so I think there is a lot of opportunities to leverage those skills, the things you've learned, any strategies that you've developed to make sure that you're successful here and beyond. And so I want to spend some time talking about what that looks like for you and how you've kind of developed those skills and how you can bring them here. And so would love to hear from you all. Feel free again, put it in the chat, feel free to shout it out. What are some skills, strategies, or practices that help you succeed at your previous institution? And so this can be very broad. It can be like a resource center, anything like that, because it'll help us. Office hours, love it. Very good. Office hours are key. Is awesome. Any other skills, resources? Writing out schedule, yeah. So creating those like daily routines to keep yourself on track. Amazing. Love to see it. Very cool. Yeah, so that like organization piece. Awesome. Yes, having that awareness. So yeah, knowing what resources I have and how to use them. So that awareness of resources is key and actually will be part of our activity later. Creating study groups, absolutely. I think study groups are essential and very key. We also have like different sessions and things at UCSD that kind of imitate the study group feel. And so that is super helpful. And so we'll chat about that a little later. Making schooling a priority. Love that. I think, yeah, I think it does require reprioritization. Transfers, just as the general population, are more likely to have full-time jobs or maybe caretaking for like children or parents. And so I think there is a lot of prioritization that needs to occur, but it definitely like it is important to like figure out that priority list and see how you can map classes and things like that. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Love to see it. All right. Okay. Let's see. So overwhelmingly, one of the big things that I've heard from all the transfers I've talked to, so in all the meetings I've held, in the different transfer coaches I've talked to, and different orientation leaders who have navigated UCSD, overwhelmingly, one of the biggest things that they have said that have benefited them is showing up to class every day in person. And so I think there are a lot of benefits to that. And I think even what was said in the chat last of like making school a priority, this is very widely something I've heard from students of why like showing up to class every day is in person is super valuable. I know at UCSD, podcasting is a very common thing where Rion, is that right? Is that what people call it? The professors?
Yeah, so there's some professors that like they will basically have their lectures recorded and it's podcasted. That's what they call it.
Yes. Okay. That is a trap, everyone. uh, Professors will sometimes record sessions and things and upload them online so that you can watch them at a later time. That is a very beautiful resource if you've already gone to class and need a refresher. But overwhelmingly, I have heard from students who solely rely on the podcasted lectures or recorded lectures that it is not the same as actually showing up and attending class in person. And so this is a warning to you all. I think it can be an awesome resource. I loved re-watching recordings and things because that helped me with retaining that memory, but it does not beat showing up to class in person. I would love to hear from all of you. Why do you think showing up to class in person makes a difference? Or what do you think are some of the benefits of showing up to class in person? Mhm. Some commitment. Yes. Commitment. Yeah, so like what Rion said, like there's that like environment of learning. It like feels different being in that classroom and hearing people's ideas, kind of being in the action of like the notes and things like that. Also, yeah, someone said you can ask questions. Yes, asking questions, being able to ask a question directly in class makes a huge difference. I think it saves time instead of like having to like go back and email or something. I think being able to ask questions directly can improve that learning flow. Like Mohammed said, making connections, beautiful. I think some of the best friends I've made in college were through some of my classes. And even just like understanding curriculum. There was people in my classes who were like genius level at the topic we were studying, and it was so nice to be able to like form that connection in class and then study with them later, or yeah, just ask them questions on like how they understood a certain topic. Super helpful. Awesome. Yeah, so that peer support. And then yeah, asking to explain a certain topic again. Yes, I think that is something that would be hard to do if it's recorded or you're hearing it after the fact. And yes, I love what everyone said. I love that peer support, being able to like ask, being able to get new explanations. And with all of these things, I think one of the biggest things is you're also helping other students. So whenever you ask a question or if you ask for the professor to re-explain something, that also I am 100% sure will be benefiting someone else in that class because it's likely the likelihood is it isn't clear for someone else. And so yes, love it. Okay. So these are some of the things I've heard from students about yeah, about like why it's important to show up to every class in person and really making that a priority. One of the biggest things I heard is that it's a little bit of a slippery slope. Once you allow yourself to like skip that one class or like sleep in a little bit too late, it makes it much easier to do it again. And of course, there are always circumstances that could impact you in class. Like if you're sick, there are resources for you, and that is where like recorded lectures really come in handy. But I think yeah, I think like what everyone was mentioning, like it really is an opportunity and a commitment that you're making. This is a really big investment of time and money and energy. And so I think you are getting the most out of your investment by showing up to class. And this isn't just coming from me, but also just like dozens and dozens of transfers that I've talked to. For myself as a transfer, I think I learned the most by like really focusing on that class commitment. But some of the key things are that it increases discipline for career. So like many careers, like my career, you have to show up every day in person. You got to be there and be ready to learn and engage. And I think setting that up now is so helpful and makes it easier. It makes it a much easier transition once you graduate and get that full-time career. Also helps you build stronger relationships with professors. And I think this one is the most beneficial of all of them. That might be a hot take, but when it comes to being prepared and maybe going to graduate and go into grad school or find future jobs, having those connections with professors can be such a huge networking opportunity and professional development opportunity. I think even just, yeah, like someone mentioned going to office hours, amazing. I think the more that a professor can see you in class and like put a face to the name, I think helps them like help you better as well. So I know that like I've heard from fellow transfers that like there was a transfer who was explaining during one of the orientations. She was saying that like she was very consistent and was showing up to class, and then she got sick and wasn't able to make it. But since she had built that rapport with the professor recognized he was really willing to like help her out when she needed an extension on a paper and things like that. And so I think it makes such a huge difference to build those relationships and participate and things like that. But yeah, also prevents a heavier workload later. I've heard students also say that they plan to like just skip class and watch the recording later, but that I feel like in some ways like doubles the workload because you're pushing it off and then it kind of compiles, and then if you don't watch it then you have to watch like catch up. And so I think that snowball effect can definitely be real. But overall I think, not to beat a dead horse, but I think showing up to class really does make a difference and was one of the key things I've learned from my own experiences, from fellow transfers, and from a lot of different like student leaders on campus as well. Awesome. Okay, now we're gonna get into the next question. What do you think are some of the benefits? And this could not only be like academic, but even like professional as well, like post-grad benefits. What do you think are the benefits of building effective study habits and using time management / organizational tools? Also, yeah, feel free to unmute, feel free to put it in the chat. Let me know. Awesome. Yes. Being organized helps you be more effective with your time, which means productivity and less stress. Love it. Yes. Having that balance, kind of making sure you're not missing things 100%. Utilizing them in your career for sure. I think being able to use that time management, those organizational skills can definitely be a habit that you translate from a student into your career, or even from like part-time work into a full-time career as well. Awesome. There's so many benefits to building good habits. Continually improving over time. Love it. Yes, I think that improvement, both as a student and as a professional and future professional, that is a lifelong learning opportunity of finding new ways to like stay organized, stay balanced, for sure. Love it, love it. Awesome. Okay, now I want to hear from you all again. What are some effective study habits or time management organizational tools that you have used, whether that be at your previous school, maybe at a previous job? Were there like specific calendars or apps? Would love to hear from you all. I think one for me that was really handy during school was having my Google Calendar. I think that I was able to like sync it with my Canvas account and like was able to map out where like my midterms were and what I needed to study. Super helpful. But yeah, Jaden said a physical planner, writing it helps more. Love it. I think they even say like writing down like a to-do list or a task list and like the action of like physically checking it off like gives us a big like brain rush of dopamine, because it is like a goal completion thing. And so writing down definitely has its benefits. Love it. Awesome. Yes, I use to-do lists for all my tasks, personal, school, home, helps me keep organized. Yes, I'm a big to-do list person. I have them like scattered about. I'll stick them on my laptop. Definitely even just writing it down and taking that time to take all the things floating around in our brain and like put them in a place it's mental offloading. So you're giving yourself the opportunity to like take something that's taking up a thought or precious brain space, and then you are putting it somewhere else, and so it makes you less likely to forget it, and it gives you more room in your brain to think about other stuff. And so to-do list writing, so helpful. Love it. Awesome. Find Canvas to be very helpful. Yeah, Canvas is awesome. I think there's like the phone app. There is the like laptop version that has like the to-do list with the deadlines. Super helpful. I think there's even ways you can like set up notifications on Canvas where it goes to your email. Super helpful. Awesome. Awesome to-do list. Let's see, having organized and neat workplace. Awesome, Jen. Yes, I think that goes a super long way. Having a healthy, organized workspace can definitely keep you more motivated and balanced and relaxed. I think it allows your central nervous system to find its like neutral plane much more easily. And so having that organized space, super helpful. Love it. Hey, you guys got a ton of good ones. Awesome. Notion and Google Calendar to keep track with other tasks. Perfect. Yeah, I think that definitely goes a long way. And labeling emails in sections too. Love to see the emailing. That is a huge one. I think emails can get out of hand, whether you're a student or a professional. And so taking even like small steps to organize and make like subjects and different categories in an email, super handy. Love it. Great stuff, everyone. Awesome. I think we like definitely hit all these. So these are also things I've learned from previous students. So that looks like effective study habits, organization, and time management. Some of the pros of that are to prepare you for career organization. So like from labeling emails to like having those calendars and to-do list, huge stuff. That having this can also improve your knowledge retention. So like I was mentioning, when you take time to offload and organize, it gives your brain more capacity to retain information and even absorb new information. So definitely comes in handy. Additionally, we also have the ability to build that critical thinking and problem solving for your profession. And so with maintaining that organization of either like your notes or to-do list or even your physical space, giving yourself that opportunity to like get organized can improve critical thinking and gives your brain more room for problem solving. As our nervous systems get more like stressed out, or like if we have finals and it's getting a little chaotic, our problem solving abilities tend to dissolve a little bit. And so I think it's also kind of like a healthy buffering opportunity as well, because things do and can get busy, and so it can be really helpful to have those skills and habits. Awesome. Reduces levels of stress. I think Raylan mentioned that, and then just overall can improve your school life balance, and then minimize some of those challenges of maybe falling behind. But it can also just like minimize the impacts of falling behind, because there might be situations where you get sick in the quarter or something happens, and I think being able to have maybe your emails organized or your notes or your to-do list can kind of help you feel better about getting back on track. So yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Awesome. Okay, so someone mentioned this, loved it. Someone put office hours in the chat. Maybe I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the benefits of going to office hours and using campus resources? Feel free. Let me know. What do we think? The benefits are endless. Awesome. Yes. Getting to know the professor. Thank you, Mohammed. That is a huge benefit of going to office hours. I think when it comes to like getting reference letters or even just like networking for a career, spending that time to learn about your professor's career path, how they got to where they're at, and just spending time like asking those questions. Like, I'd love to know more about your career trajectory, or even like I'd love to know more about like the subject we're studying in class. It goes such a huge way. And so office hours can be incredibly valuable for that reason. Thank you. Awesome. Let's see. And Rion said, feeling more connected in general, whether that's with the physical campus or to peers. Yes, absolutely. I think there is a like big theory in higher education showing that students who are connected to a professor, connected to a club or like social activity on campus, and then either involved in like a job or volunteer activity on campus, having those three things are huge indicators not only of academic success at the university, but success beyond in future careers. And so I think being able to establish those connections with professors, it might feel scary, especially coming to a new place and going to a new university. But I think if that's something you've already practiced or thought about practicing at your previous institution, it's an amazing thing to bring here and carry on, or even start at UCSD, because office hours is a big deal. But yeah, as my community, this is a good one. Okay, as my community college professor put it, if you go to a university but don't make the best of the experience through its resources, it's no better than a community college. Ah, very interesting. Yeah, so I think definitely community colleges have a lot of resources and amazing people and connections. But I think depending on the type of university, so like community colleges, potentially like I think there are a lot that like do amazing research. But I think at UCSD, there is like a plethora of research. And so it might help you get more connected through UCSD and get more connected to research that you're like specifically interested in. And so I think while community colleges do offer amazing opportunities with the size and the reach that UCSD has, it is really important to make use of those, because there's a lot of cool stuff we got going on. But yeah, awesome. All right. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so these are some of the pros. It improves that learning comprehension. It's an awesome networking opportunity. They may have a job or know someone, or even like might tell you about a grad program or something that could change the trajectory of your life. It is definitely worthwhile. You might get insider knowledge. That's one thing I have heard from one of our previous peer coaches. She would always ask the professor during like week 1 or 2 of office hours. She would go in as soon as she could, and she would ask them, what is the best way to study for this class? And she would have professors that would sometimes give like insider knowledge on like how the test like runs, or just like what areas to specifically focus on. And so I think it can be really handy. You might learn something really beneficial from that opportunity that might give you not necessarily an upper hand, but just a better grasp of material. And so super helpful. And then yes, with using campus resources, technically your student fees help pay for some of it, but overall, like there's nothing like, we have the transfer hub here, and we have free printing, free snacks. There's so many resource centers across campus. You can go to the health services center, and yeah, like there's so many resources that it's sometimes hard to think about all of them, but there are so many opportunities to get like free career prep, free writing tutoring, all that kind of stuff. And so like overwhelmingly, I think it makes the most sense to use it. You don't get any rewards for not. And so I think at the end of the day, super helpful, super important, and very valuable, and will help increase your sense of belonging and community and preparation for that future career. So yeah. Okay. With all that being said, thank you for listening to all the things I had to say, and from all the helpful insights that we've gotten from previous students and coaches and things like that. We're going to move into a little bit of an activity, and this is a little bit free form, so there's no like hard requirements or anything, but we're going to take some time to list out the strategies and resources that you've used while attending your previous institution. So it's a lot of what you guys have already shared and the amazing things and skills that you've kind of picked up along the way. And we are going to spend some time thinking about how we can translate that to UCSD. And so whether you were at a community college on a semester system or at a different university with completely different resources, I think this will be this is something that was really beneficial for me as a transfer coming in. I remember getting to my 4 year and like all of the offices had different names. I like didn't know where to go for certain things. And so I think I really wanted to structure this activity to give you that upper hand and give you a little added preparation for when it comes to like adjusting and feeling prepared. And so we can kick it off. Feel free to get a piece of paper or use the chat or yeah, use the chat, or even you can do a little mental reflection. And then we can stop. I'll stop the recording because then we'll do a little bit of workshopping and people can share. But yeah, and so let's see, I'll pause the recording. Thank you all for listening to this.